This is a Pele Media podcast.
Welcome back to Goonies Minute, everybody. Goonies Minute is the fan podcast where we carefully explore the movie Goonies minute by minute. This is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to bring you minute number 89 of the Goonies. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It seems like it's been a long week for you.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Let's get into minute number 89.
Let's do it. In the previous minute, Mikey cautiously explored a horrific scene which involved several skeleton pirates seemingly killed in battle. They all sat at a table covered in treasure. At the head of the table sat the skeleton of One-Eyed Willie. As the minute ended, Mikey made his way over to Willie and introduced himself. At minute 89, Mikey seems to have taken a new attitude towards Willie. He speaks of all that they have in common and tells Willie that he was the first Goonie. At that moment, Mikey becomes aware that the rest of the Goonies are standing at the far end of the room. He asks how long they have been standing there. Brand responds with, "Long enough, Mikey. Long enough." Each of the Goonies begin to walk into the room and witness the treasure in front of them. They have finally reached the end of their trek. And thus ends minute 89 of the Goonies. So we talked in the last minute about how Mikey is having his sort of dialogue one-on-one with One-Eyed Willie and basically just sort of bragging to him and showing a lot of arrogance and a lot of, just borderline sociopathic behavior in talking to him. And right at the end of the minute, he reached up to take the eye patch off of Willie, and the minute ended right then. So this minute picks up with what we're seeing, and apparently the reason One-Eyed Willie only has solid bone under the eye patch is because he suffers from a birth defect called anophthalmia, which is a very rare condition, basically in which the eye just never develops at birth. So, it's interesting that they would go with that instead of something dramatic like him having lost his eye in battle or something. So if that's the case, why even bother lifting the eye patch? What's the importance with that?
Well, he's a kid, and he wants to. He's curious. That's it.
But still, if it's going to be like, oh, guess what? It's nothing more than a birth defect. His skull didn't completely, Well,
I mean, maybe they're not even thinking in the terms of where a lot of pirates lost their eye. They were thinking, I really don't even think that crossed their mind.
So whatever the case is, it's something very deliberate that they put there for a reason, and I'm sure it's for no other reason than to make people question why it's there. Why is the patch there, and why is it not over something as dramatic as, say, like him having probably lost his eye in a sword fight or something like that? But either way, we cut from that to Mikey speaking to him again, and that there's been a sort of a shift in Mikey's attitude right here. And he starts to have a little bit more respect for Willie, and he starts to speak a little bit higher of him. And he says that you were the first Goonie. So does the term Goonie, do you think it means something different to Mikey than it does the rest of them? Because Chunk says earlier, hey, it's kind of like us, we're the Goonies, the kids who, kind of the, go ahead. Do you think that the term means something else to Mikey than it does the others?
Yeah, I think it does. I think Mikey thinks it's more of a brotherhood. Well, we got some sisters in there, but you know what I mean. It's more of the camaraderie. You stick together. The never say die. I think it means more to him. Whereas Chunk, he's I'm sure. Look, he would do anything for those guys. He loves those guys, but I don't think his mind can grasp the depth of what it means to a Mikey. Mm-hmm. So that's how I would say that. So yes, it means more. Yes, it's something different to him. You'd have to ask Data and Mouth what it is to them. And then, of course, I guess Brand would probably not identify that way. And, only on the surface would an Andy.
Mm-hmm. But even still, let's say you've got your four official Goonies, even like you say, Data and Mouth, whatever it would mean to them too, it's probably still going to be something distant for Mikey, because Mikey is completely on his own track here. It's almost like everybody else is irrelevant. And I think everything is going to mean something different to him. So I would love to, I don't know, try and figure out exactly what he's talking about when he says, Willie, were the first Goonie. Like, you were the first one like me. Not like Mouth, not like Data, not like the rest of these people.
Yeah, because
like
even hearing you say that, thinking about that, we're talking about Goonies sticking together. Goonies never say die. Goonies, the camaraderie, the just, you don't let someone go alone. I mean, it's just all of that, what it means to be that tightly knit group. Now, what is Willie? Willie killed all of his men. Yeah. How can he be the first Goonie? The Goonies not going to kill all their men.
Right.
Goonies stick together with their men. So, yeah, it's an ultimate contradiction there if you really want to think about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's reveling in this person that is a murderer, who is a thief.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got determination, and he set up this amazing set of booby traps meant to kill you. And yes, you defeated him, but this is a murderer. Let's be honest. I know it's a kid's movie and everything. This is a murderer, and he shouldn't be considered the first Goonie because he killed all of his men.
Yeah.
I hate to be a Debbie Downer there, but
yeah. So it just makes you wonder what exactly Mikey means by that when he says you were the first Goonie. Is there's so much more? Evidently, there's so much more here to Mikey Walsh and his psyche than we have seen so far.
And I never realized it.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until taking notes for this minute. Do you think that he finds... Okay, Mikey was willing to... He put all of his friends' lives on the line in order to get here. That sounds like someone who's willing to do that and uphold that... Like someone who's willing to do that might revere someone who murders all of their own men, who also doesn't have any regard for their own crew's lives. It's kind of a stretch, but you see where I'm going?
Yeah, no, I see what you're going.
I think Mikey might, deep down inside, think like all of my friends are expendable. The only thing that matters is the quest.
This is an interesting way you're putting it.
And Willie is kind of saying all of my men are expendable.
This is an interesting way you're putting it because Mikey did put the lives of his friends in danger. They did try to escape. They did try to escape. There were ways out, and he manipulated them to continue. He lied to continue.
Yeah. And like we said yesterday...
Maybe he's a kid and he didn't necessarily come out right out and kill him, but he certainly was not looking out for them. He was looking out for himself and his number one goal when the other ones did not have the fervor like he did to go forward. I think that's a word.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it makes you, So it almost makes you wonder.
That's interesting. That's good. I like getting into some more. It's just, okay, right. I get that.
So I'm wondering, basically, if, when he says you were the first Goonie, if the term Goonie...
It definitely means something different to him, because to me, and to the other ones, Goonies, I would think, and I thought it meant to him, like, everybody sticks together.
Yeah, but I think it's...
But then again, it could be like, Mikey's like, everyone stick together and do what I want them to do, and tough if you don't want to do that, and if you die trying, so be it.
So be it. Yeah.
But we have one goal. You can look at it this way. We have one goal, and we stop at nothing to get to that goal, even if it means somebody falling along the wayside along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You look at it that way.
Absolutely. I think that's what's going on. So I'm wondering if, for him, Goonie is almost like a class of people. That, very few people fall into that class, into that category. And I guess it's just whatever he and Willie are, whatever this is that they share, which is not a good trait.
No.
Mikey Walsh is not going to grow up to be a good person, and definitely not like I was talking yesterday. I don't really want to see a sequel about him because it would kind of break the conceit of everything that we're seeing set up here in this dialogue between him and Willie.
Yeah, we don't really need to see a fat Rudy with a bad job.
We don't need to see Samwise Gamgee. So, anyway, that's an interesting topic that I would hope some of the listeners would go and try and explore themselves. Because, it's interesting. Now, Mikey says, I made it here in one piece, and then I think he whispers, sort of.
No, yeah, last minute, he says, oh, yeah.
And I couldn't hear what he said at first. I really had to.
Yeah, you got to put your ear to that.
You got to put your ear to, or just turn the captions on. But anyway,
That's cheating.
That's cheating. Then there's some candlelight that comes into the room, and we cut over and see that the rest of the Goonies have now entered the same room, and they're just sort of there, letting their friend have his moment. And Mikey says, how long have you guys been standing there? And there's a close-up of Brand saying, very dramatically, long enough, Mikey, long enough. I don't know that Brand is saying, I've been sitting here long enough to watch you make your little speech. I think he's saying, like, I've been long enough to see that everything that's been so important to you was for a reason. He's like, I've seen you doing all this long enough now to know. Now I know. Now I understand, who you are. And when I'm pushing you around at the house at the beginning of the movie and seemingly don't understand or don't connect with you, now I understand what that reason is, and I see the person that you are.
Yeah, I believe that.
And that's a sibling thing. And like we've seen throughout this movie, they do a really good job of portraying the sibling relationship, the relationship between the two brothers, and make it very interesting. And Brand, who is someone who has never been able to lead, as we've gone over, who's never really had the strength that his little brother has. What's that like? It's just an interesting line, an interesting moment.
I thought what's interesting is when he asked Willie to say hi to him. It's like he's kind of in a weird place right now.
Yeah,
and he's like crazed.
It's almost like
controlled, crazed.
Yeah, and okay, we look at it and we say like, okay, that's funny. He's saying, hey, say hi, Willie, whatever. But you could also, the way that we're looking and dissecting the scene and the way that we're seeing Mikey now, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that he is actually thinking he's communicating with the skeleton.
Right.
There's probably a conversation going on in his own mind between these two things. One of them being an inanimate object. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Mikey Walsh is a little crazy. But, so the Goonies, they see Mikey and they see him in this element. And they see the truth now. Brand is saying, been standing here long enough to see that everything you have been talking about is true. And there's validation to everything that you've been saying since the attic.
I want to know where they got those perfect candles and how they all got up there.
Yep. So let's see. They still haven't gone through that dynamite yet, have they? Because they had the bag full of candles.
No, they hadn't. But I swear I thought they were lit earlier. But I guess they weren't. You just saw them. But I don't remember them having candles in there. I just remember the dynamite.
But I think it was like dynamite mixed with... I don't know.
That's weird.
Yeah, maybe something we should just kind of push out of our minds and hope that it makes sense. That is all that I have for minute 89. What about you?
That's all I have.
Great. So, everybody, please go out and have a great Easter weekend. And join us back here on Monday for minute number 90 when we're going to have our friend Jeff on, who is a jeweler. And he's going to try and help us figure out exactly how much is on One-Eyed Willie's ship here, and if what Rosalita finds at the end of the movie would actually be enough to save the Goondocks. So he's going to be on Monday for minute number 90, and again on minute number 106. But until Monday, this is Brady.
And this is Chris.
And we're here to remind you that Goonies
never say die.
Goonies Minute is a fan-supported podcast. If you like the show, then leave us a review on iTunes. You can find us at GooniesMinute.com, Facebook.com/GooniesMinute, Twitter.com/GooniesMinute, and at Instagram @GooniesMinute. You can contact us at GooniesMinute@gmail.com.
You've been listening to a Pele Media podcast. For premium content and exclusive podcasts, visit us at patreon.com/PeleMedia. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/PeleMedia and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PeleMedia.